Arnold. I kept the home as long as I possibly can, but after these things happened, a temper, I had to replace it. Look, I've been married 58 years, and I miss it terribly.
She's still alive.
About 6 to 7 years since the beginning of noticing Alzheimer's to today. It's funny. It happened just about at her age 70. Her sister started at age 70 and passed away. Her father died of Alzheimer's. Her grandfather died of Alzheimer's. So it runs down in the family.
Len.
My wife was at Caleo. She died last July.
How did it go? I mean, how long was she diagnosed?
Well, she was first formally diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment of the Alzheimer's type in 2012. And I cared for her at home for about 6 years, but then I had to place her at Caleo Bay.
What precipitated placement?
It was a sudden fall off the cliff moment type of thing. It was one night when we were at home and she kept yelling. I had to take her back to her apartment. She was afraid she'd come to our house. Her husband would come to our house and find us, and so on. So, there were several times before that when she'd forget that she's married to me and would be worried about her husband coming. But that one night, there was no way to pacify her. I had to take her someplace, so I called up Caleo Bay. I've been going to Caleo Bay, and she had stayed there occasionally for like a week for respite care.
You went in now. What do they call it?
But I went in for respite care. But that night, it was clear. It was I had to take her someplace. I called them at night, told her I wanted to bring her, and they checked with Ronda and said, "Okay, come," and I took her.
Thank goodness you had these things in place when you needed them.
Oh yeah, it's very important to prepare. I mean, there are legal things you have to do, like the power of attorney, but there are also things like to go to Caleo Bay. Luckily, I'd gone there for respite care before, but before they could take her even for that, you have to do like a TB test. And that once you do it, it's good for a year. But there are that, and having gone there for like a week at a time for respite care really paved the way. And that's not just Caleo Bay. That's any of the care places. They have to be TB free.
Do you have children?
I had 3 children. I have 2 still living. One's up in Seattle, and the other's in Vancouver, BC. Is your situation now is one parent, and is that parent now placed, or is that being cared by the other parent?
He's still at home, and my mom is the primary caregiver, and I'm the co-pilot.
Okay, well, you know that in that situation, the odds are, 7 times out of 10, she will die first.
Isn't that horrible?
That's why she has to make sure she takes care of herself. And
life after Alzheimer's. How does that go for you?
It's going well for me, but even during Alzheimer's, I was so aware of that 70% thing. I vowed I was going to be in a 30% club, and so I did things for myself. As I said, I had a caregiver come in 1 day a week, just as a emergency contact who would know what to do if something happened to me, but it also gave me a day. I didn't stay home. She came all day long, and I went out and did things. And right now, since she's died, it's no longer Alzheimer's as a part of it, but I have to deal with the death. But having the other thing about preparing for trying to stay in the 30% club was making she use the respite care. I placed her.
Len is pretty good because he still comes to the meetings. We have a meeting every Tuesday, and Ruth died, but Len still comes to these meetings to help out other people and advise other people.
Yeah.
So it's primarily grief, I suppose, at this point?
Yeah, and I find I had a son that died young from cancer. He was 21. And so I've gone through the grieving process once before. And what I find now is You know, it's not a heavy cloud that's on me all the time, but every once in a while, you know, there are bad moments when suddenly you're in touch with the ugly feelings and the missing and the sorrow and all of that. And they can be pretty bad, but luckily for me, they seem to be not too frequent, so I can deal with them. Well, one of the things we tell a new member when they come to our support group is that this famous quote that you hear a lot: once you've seen one case of Alzheimer's, you've seen one case of Alzheimer's. They're all different. Now, some Alzheimer's patients may go through the rest of their life perfectly happy. Others, one common symptom that not everybody gets, but that some get, is they become angry easily. They'll become aggressive. Physically, they may physically threaten the caregiver, which is, you reach a point where that's another reason why sometimes the caregiver has to decide it's time to place them. Especially when the case is the patient is a man and his wife is the caregiver, and if she's smaller and weaker and
Well, thank you very much, Len. I appreciate Arnold.
My pleasure.
Thank you very, very much.
So it's a real ordeal going anywhere, and lately it's more so than ever.
Yeah, and it ends up being an ordeal for everybody involved.
Exactly. Especially, I knew it was at noon, so I knew that we had to get up and get him ready and do all of that. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. I haven't done anything and I'm exhausted.
And there's a fair amount of stress that he passes along too with as the time to go, am I going, when...
And then sitting there waiting for an hour and 20 minutes for the doctor, I couldn't tell him anymore what was wrong with him. I told him already 50 times, well, maybe 49. Go.
So you went to the doctor's?
I went to the doctor.